Hi everyone. Today I'm here with Kevin McDonagh. He is the president of the Birmingham Film Festival and founder of Actors UK.
Well, as you said, yeah, I am Kevin McDonagh. I'm the president of the Birmingham Film Festival, and I established Actors UK around about 13 years ago as a place for the actors that I knew and was working with to communicate. So as I was doing more and more projects, I thought it'd just be easy to have a group on Facebook, which was the number one social media platform at the time, just to have a place where everyone could be together, and it's sort of grown from there. And since then, I've continued to use it for my own projects, but obviously, thousands of other people now get to benefit from the collective. So I think we're at 110,000, maybe just short of that.
That's pretty impressive. It's been 14 years and it's absolutely great. So today I wanted to talk to you about the book that you've written last year, which is called
Lights, camera, acting. It's a career guide for actors based entirely on my own experience. So there'd be stuff in there you could argue wasn't true, but this is how I've seen it, how I've experienced it, and this is the sort of advice that I would give to any of my actor friends. So we're sharing it with the world.
So is that what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, primarily. Over the last 10 years of working with the film festival, my network of industry professionals has expanded, which obviously included actors. I get to meet a lot of young emerging talent, and there's a lot of questions that I get asked, not just me exclusively, but people are always asking me questions and advice. And I started to notice that I was saying the same few key elements to people, which was things I'd worked out from seeing the industry and working in it. So I thought, well, at least my advice is consistent. And so to save me repeating myself all the time, I thought I'd write it in a book. And then when anyone asks me advice, I can get them to buy a copy of the book.
That makes sense. You said that the Birmingham Film Festival is now 10 years old. That's impressive.
Yeah, 2025 is our 10th edition. Last year was fairly record breaking. We showed 200 films. There was nearly 6,000 people came through the doors, and
Oh.
it's been a big part of my career and my journey because it's expanded my network, it's expanded my understanding of the industry, and it's allowed me to see the film world, particularly the film world, from a lot of other perspectives that aren't necessarily my own. So I don't just see the industry the way that I experience it. And I've met a lot of people who've had very different experiences in their careers. And for some people it's still a hobby. For some people this whole business is a hobby. But yeah, the festival's given me a really, really interesting perspective.
That's pretty interesting. Thank you for sharing with us. Returning to your book, there is one concept that I read in it, which is very interesting, which is the triangle of gladness. Can you please explain your concept in a few words?
So the triangle of gladness, which is what I started calling it when writing the book, up until that point, it was just the three things that actors are judged, valued, and hired because of, and it's the three elements that every actor needs, and depending on how to what degree you have this asset and this skill set, depends potentially on your success. And it's range, ability, and appeal, and they're fairly self-explanatory until the third one. So range is what characters and performances are you capable of? What is sensible and realistic within the realm of your character type? And that's not to say that people can't break out of their pigeonhole. I don't necessarily believe in archetypes in terms of actors' performances. But obviously, there are some roles that you are better suited for, or more likely, there are roles you definitely can't do. So the broader your range, the more options you have. Your ability is how good an actor are you? Like, can you deliver lines believably, or does it sound like you're reading a script? And on top of that ability, there are those other skill sets, martial arts, stunts, horse riding, whatever it happens to be. And then appeal is probably the toughest one to conquer and build upon, because it's not appeal as in attractiveness. It's about how appealing you are to a production to be cast and put on set, because a lot of most casting directors don't want to take a risk with unknown talent. Their job is on the line, their head's on the chopping block if they get it wrong. So they want to play it relatively safe and hire an actor, even if it's just a smallish role, that has done similar stuff at a similar professional level, so that if anything goes wrong, it's not really their fault. And the more of those professional, trustworthy credentials that you've got on your CV, the more appealing you are to a casting director. And that's the toughest one, and that's the biggest challenge for most people. How do you get that experience if no one will give you a chance?
So how do you get it?
The answers are in the book, but the bulk of it is to advance incrementally and ensure that each job that you work on benefits you more in one of those aspects, more than the last project did, and that it adds an element or adds a touch, or however you want to score, it adds points to each one of those categories. But you also need to always be looking to just step out of that comfort zone, even if it's only half a step, whether that's a slightly bigger production, whether it's a smaller role on a bigger film, or whether it's working with a better caliber of filmmaker. I know a lot of people, lots of actors have got filmmakers they work with on a regular basis and they enjoy doing it. And that's great because at the end of the day, collaboration's key for production, but you need to slowly be moving yourself up in one of those elements at every single new production. And that can involve probably the most important one for me, which is eventually you have to turn down unpaid non-professional jobs, else you'll never get into that realm of professional paid jobs.
It sounds like to me that you're describing this acting career like a business. Is that how actors should treat their career?
In terms of how you're going to further your career to allow you to express your artistic voice, yeah, you've got to treat it like a business. At the end of the day, every other element that will be involved, getting paid, pitching for jobs, your CV, your showreel, they operate like every other business would. It is a portfolio, it is a sales pitch of the service you can offer, and that service is your acting skill. I have the talent and the ability to portray that character in this production for you at a price that suits you, and here's all the elements that I can bring to the table. That's what an audition is. It is a sales pitch. So you have to think of your acting skill as the same way a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter treats their skill and sells their skill. You're not a product. It's not the same as selling cars or selling computers or whatever. You are selling your skill set. You are selling your ability and your expertise. But the most professional of tradespeople still have to sell as a commodity is a tough word, but as a service for hire.
So what would be your advice to kind of start building this portfolio? Say that you have a person who hasn't gone to drama school and they want to, let's say, break it into acting. Do you even say breaking into acting?
Well, I think that's a term that comes from the idea of being discovered by some producer and then turned into a star. That the industry does still feel very, very much like there's gatekeepers who get to decide who is really working in the business. And we may not admit it, but we all know the difference between a real job and a amateur low budget job where the people making the film have also funded it and they don't really, we know it when we see it. And the idea of being on a real film or a real production very much exists. And, you know, casting directors are considered those gatekeepers, but they're in that same position. They want to climb up the ladder. The casting director of daytime BBC soaps would love to work on, you know, Chris Nolan's next movie as the casting director. There's a hierarchy there. So whilst they may be your most important point of contact in terms of getting into the real business, they're still part of the career path that you've taken, and they fit into having, you know, if you've worked with amateur filmmakers that didn't have a casting director, well, that's where you step up to that next level in production where they have a casting director. So if you are starting out, you've got to not see it as a breaking in, more as a progression and a growth, and that's the key element. The first task I would advise anyone to undertake, the first thing to do if you really legitimately want to be a professional actor, is see if you can get training, go and be educated in acting, go to drama school, go to acting classes, whatever you can, get that skill set built, because particularly if you can get into a really good drama school, if you're young enough to, you know, that's still an option in your life to go to drama school. If you really want to do this, I'd advise trying. But education in general just demonstrates commitment to the cause and a certain level of professionalism that if you've not got those credits on your CV, at least the fact that you've been to an educational facility means you take this business seriously and you take this craft seriously. Outside of that, if you're come into acting at a later age, at a later stage in your life, which a lot of people do, the first thing, more important than anything, is those headshots. Get those headshots done because that's the quickest way to get out there and get seen. I'll touch on it in the book. You can supplement those headshots with a really strong social media presence that primarily something like Instagram, which demonstrates your looks and your styles. And so it's a lot easier and quicker to fill up an Instagram account with photos playing roles than it is to get that big long list of credits. But that big long list of credits is the next objective. But as a start point, go out there and show people that you have an interesting look because this is a visual medium. Once you've got their attention, then the following stage is to prove your ability and so on and so forth. But as a first port call, go and get those images. Let's let people see what you look like.
Is networking important when you're becoming an actor, let's say?
Networking is the backbone of film and television, especially. And that's for crew as well. 90%-ish of the work I used to get when I was gaffering or lighting, sparking, or even producing and directing came through recommendations from people that I'd worked with or because someone I'd worked with was doing their next project. Actors, as I say, often find that they work with the same director time and time again. That's your network. That is the group within which you are valued and considered and worked with. So growing that network is absolutely vital. And if you're going to take those steps up to, build on your range, ability, and appeal, well, the only way you're going to do that is to meet people who are at that level and can bring you along and you can work with and collaborate or team up and elevate yourselves together. So if you're not networking and you're not reaching out to this immense industry, then those opportunities are never, ever going to come to you. And that networking is both in person and, as I said, online, a really good Instagram that shows commitment and talent and quality will get the attention of people who are looking for those aspects. And of course, whatever you put out there is what you're going to attract. If your Instagram is somewhat spicy, then you're going to attract a certain potential customer or clientele that want to work with you, but they've got the wrong idea of what your image is. So it's important that you're networking and demonstrating what that product is at all time. Again, going back into treating this like a business. So yeah, get out there and network, go to things, come to the Actors UK events because they're at least once a month and there's a chance to meet literally hundreds of people a year from every aspect of the industry.
Exactly. We have an event every month. We have it in London. We have it in Birmingham. We're going to start having them in a lot of more cities. So just make sure you keep on following us. And Kevin's book is going to be linked in the description down here. I mean, you have to read it. Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for coming and speaking to us. We'll have all the information in the description below. Also visit our website, actorsuk.com, and we'll see you there. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. See you later.